Hello and welcome to Loving Me, Myself, and Life with me, Jody Misiak. I have a question for you. Have you ever had it where you just feel like things in your life aren't going well? Or you're nitpicking on like things that are just not going right? I know I have, and that is why I'm sharing this episode with you. Because I have been there myself. Sometimes we can be so focused on what's going wrong in our life that we forget that there's actually things going right. Like, for instance, I know I've caught myself focusing on like, oh, I'm not doing this right, or I'm not doing this right, or oh man, I'm not doing that right. And there's just so many things that aren't going right or that I'm not doing right. And then I see more things that don't go right. But what happens when we pivot it and we change it and look at it a different way? When we focus on the things we're doing right. So in full, complete disclosure, I struggle sometimes with my business. In fact, I struggle a lot. I've been doing this thing for 8 years. 8 years. And there's been some highs and there's been some lows and some major tears and frustrations. And I can get caught in my day where I'm like, oh, I'm not doing this right with my business. I'm not doing this right with my business. And this isn't going well and this and like, just constantly focus on the things that aren't working, that aren't going well. And then how am I supposed to show up in that, right? Because it's all negativity. It's all like heavy, dark. And then that's when I end up in bed with my covers over my head going, nope, not today, not getting out of bed. There's no point. But when I focus on the things that are working or that I'm doing that feel good and that are right and that are flowing, that gets me out of bed that day, that morning, it's like, let's do this. I got something good to share. I'm meant to do this. I'm meant to help people. And that's a good feeling. But we can get so caught up in what's going wrong or what we're doing wrong. Another example in my own life is when I was going through my candida journey, with the overgrowth in my gut. So if you've never heard of candida, if you haven't listened to an episode, I've talked about a fair amount because it has been a part of my life for over 2 years now. So it's been a big life lesson for me. Anyways, it's yeast in my gut, and we all have it. I just have more of it, and it feeds off sugar and other foods that have fungus and things like just lots of different things. Anyways, maybe one of these days I'll do a whole episode on it, or maybe I have already. I can't remember. So one of the things back on my journey was I was focusing on doing it right? So I had this plan. I worked with my naturopath once I knew, and it's like I had all this list of foods. I had all these things I was supposed to cut out, and I did a lot of it. But then when something didn't go well, maybe I had a relapse because candida, it's having an addiction to sugar because the candida is like, feed me sugar. And it's really addictive when you have candida. Like sugar itself is addictive. But when you have too much candida in your gut, it's really, really, it's like you're jonesing for sugar. Like I can't even tell you, like it's bad. It's like if you've ever been addicted to something, it's like that. Like I've never been other than sugar, I guess. But like it was like, I must have sugar now. Like you do almost anything for sugar. And it's like you can't turn that off. It's a pretty intense feeling. So when I'd have that, then I would be mad at myself for doing that. Yet I was doing so well for weeks. So instead of celebrating the fact that I got to a good place and that, I had weeks of being really awesome at the candida diet, I focused on what I did wrong. So we do this in life, right? Where you're doing well. Like, I can't even tell you, like, we're not going to talk too much about diets here, but I was on numerous diets throughout my life. And it's those same ideas where you're doing something well, or even say like working out or yoga practice or meditation practice, anything, pick something and that's what it is. So you're doing something, you're doing it really well. You're showing up for you. Maybe it's not 100%, but you're showing up and it's fairly consistent, or maybe it's full on consistent. Like you're showing up day in, day out. meeting yourself and making a commitment to be consistent. And then life happens and it throws you a curveball. And then it doesn't happen. For example, we just had a a big dumping of snow, and my whole week last week had to change. And, I had to just let that be. There was still some frustrations, but I realized it's out of my control. And I just had to pivot. It was actually a day that I decided the week before, I'm like, I need a week off. I need to figure out what I'm doing next with my life. Just really connecting to my why again. So because I was going, trying to do so much, and I was feeling burnt out. I'm like, I need a break. And then it dumped snow, and I didn't really get a break. I got to hang out with my kids, and we got to go play in the snow, but I didn't really get a break. So I had to jig everything and figure out how to find balance again in a different way. Anyways, I hope that makes sense. But the thing is, we can be consistent. We can be doing things really well. And then life happens. And then maybe you don't do something for a week, a month, a year. That doesn't mean that you can't get back there. So let's go back to, let's say, my morning routine. And I was very consistent before the winter break. And then the winter break happened and I lost a little traction. And January is a little bit of a hard start. So it wasn't as great. One of the things I've learned with my morning routine is, regardless of what happened yesterday, the day before, the month before, the year before, that doesn't matter. What matters is how I show up today. That's the only day. So when we are in that moment of we're constantly being consistent, we're like, yes, I'm consistent. And then life throws that curveball and we're just like, oh, that sucked. I didn't show up for me. I didn't do that thing. And that can prevent us from getting back to that thing. So for me, my morning routine. So maybe it didn't look so good for a couple weeks or even a few months. I know how I feel when I show up on my mat and do my morning routine. So it's focusing on the things that you do well. And just because you didn't do it well, maybe for a few weeks, it's where you were at and it's okay. So it's making peace with where you are at the moment and be like, okay, this is where I'm at right now. It's okay. It happened. How can I pivot and do this differently? Maybe you need to change whatever you were doing before. Maybe life isn't the same. I know over my life, I became an empowerment coach. I graduated and started my business when my son, my second child, was 6 months old. I was in the thick of things. And my self-love journey and even my self-care activities looked a lot different back then. I was just surviving. I had a toddler and a baby and a business that was just getting off the ground. And, I had to be patient, loving with myself. And sometimes I wasn't because I was comparing myself to others too. So that was a whole other different conversation for another day, comparing. But we can focus so much on what's going wrong. And let me tell you, there's probably so much going right, or that you're doing right. That's right for you in that moment. So another example is, let's say you're tired and you sleep instead of, working out. Maybe what you need right then is a nap and sleeping. When my kids were little, I sometimes chose a nap over working. I was working during my son's naps. Yes, you heard that right. I was working when my kids, my oldest would be in daycare 2 days a week. And I would work on their naps. Now, looking at that seems crazy. But it was the thing that kept me going. It was my own little thing, my own beautiful personal thing. And I love helping people. So it's actually looking back going okay, that might have seemed crazy, but to some people it might. But it was the thing that kept me sane. So looking back, I'm like, it was kind of self-care, helping others. But I also had I did a lot for myself too at that time. But again, there was times where I'm like, I'm so tired, and I would have a nap. So sometimes what's going right or wrong might be a different, just changing the perspective. So today I encourage you just, allow life to flow around you and be mindful and focus on the things that are going right in your life, the things that you are doing right. I bet that you are doing a lot that you don't really realize sometimes that is good for you in your life to go after your dreams and your goals. But I feel as human beings, our knee-jerk reaction is to focus on all the things that aren't going right or the things we don't do right. Because, we can get caught in like, oh, but I'm not good at this, or I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing this the way, like this is not the way it should go, or things like that. But the truth is, that's how we learn and grow. Sometimes we have to do something wrong to figure out that what is right. So it's being just, loving to yourself, being gentle and patient with yourself, but also focusing on the things that you are doing well, that are helping you. You're listening to this episode, so you found this somehow. And it was brought to you, like you're meant to hear this. And you're doing something for you that is great. You're listening to something motivational, inspiring, and hopefully, sparking some inspiration in you or motivation. Not everything is going to go right. And everything that we think needs to go right, because, the universe has a plan of its own sometimes. But it's focusing on what you're doing right or what's going right in your life. So think about it even with that gratitude, right? It's the same idea. When it feels like nothing is good in your life, and then you just sit down with it for a minute and you start thinking about all the things that you're grateful for, the more things you notice that you're grateful for. And then things start to flow into your life that you're grateful for. And then all of a sudden it's like you're focusing on all the positive stuff instead of the negative. So it's whatever you focus on grows. And then it's also remembering that when you fall, it's not about the number of times you fall. It's about how, getting back up again. And when something doesn't go according to plan, or when you're focusing on the thing that you did wrong, being mindful and not making that hold you back from trying again or doing it differently. Because maybe you just needed to tweak something. Maybe you needed to change something. And it's just celebrating the things that are flowing and working. And then more things will flow and work. And remember, if you've been consistent and you're showing up, celebrate that. And then if you fall down, celebrate that. Shake yourself off, dust yourself off, whatever you want to do. Dance it off. Come back and either begin again or pick up when you fell down, or pivot and head in a different direction. If that fall, realize that maybe that fall was pointing you in a different direction. But just because something didn't go according to plan doesn't mean you're not meant to do great things or have a big plan. It just means it's making you pause, or you need to just focus on the good stuff. Because I bet there's a lot of good stuff. But when we focus on the not good stuff, we see more not good stuff. And then it's like this spiraling snowball effect where it's like, oh my goodness, you just see it everywhere over and over and over again. And that's how you end up in bed with the blankets over your head. Like me sometimes, where it's like, oh, the world is too much today. And then I have to remind myself, what am I grateful for? What is going right in my life? And honestly, sometimes I put an audiobook on and listen to that if I really can't change my own perspective. Fill my brain up with other positive words of encouragement instead. Because sometimes our voice is not loud enough and we need to hear somebody else say, you can do it. And that's why I'm here with you, for you today, cheering you on and saying, you can do this. You are here on this earth for a reason. You are amazing. You are unique, and you are beautiful, and you are so full of love. Pause, take it in, feel the hug that I'm sending you right now, because you are an incredible person and you deserve so much happiness. So celebrate what is going right and what you're doing right. And maybe that was falling down so you could follow a new path. Sometimes it's literally a change in perspective. Sometimes it's a little bit more. Maybe you need a little support, encouragement. And I'm so glad that you're here listening to this. Give yourself a hug and take it one step at a time, knowing that you are incredible as you are in this moment. Life is a journey. So self-love. It's a journey of personal discovery and growth. Every stumble, every fall, we can learn something. We can grow. We can get to know ourselves better. I fall a lot, but I also dust myself off, sometimes dance it off, sometimes cry it off. And then I reflect and see how I can change my thoughts, my mindset around things, how I can pivot and learn, and what do I need in this moment. Sometimes all I need is to love myself where I am. Other times it's like I need some sleep or some food, or I need to move my body to keep my mental state really awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm incredibly grateful for you. If you found this episode helpful, please share the love. And I have a free meditation. So if you're like, oh my goodness, how do I, find balance? How can I get support through, when you have these rough moments in life? I have a meditation called Listen to Your Heart. And it can help ground you in love and really help you open up your heart and space to really grow and be who you truly are. So if that's something you'd like, the link for it is in the description of this podcast. And it's absolutely free. Thank you again for being here. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.